Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody, Earthlings, wherever you are. The Christmas lives begin tomorrow at 6 o'clock Spanish time, which will be 5 p.m. UK time, and then wherever else you are in the world. If you look up what time is in the UK, then you can work out your own time zones. I think it's a good time because I think it's good for people in America and Australia. So that should work out all right. What we might do is alternate it. We're going to do a live every day, building up to Christmas, over Christmas, including Christmas Day, right through to the New Year, New Year's Eve. Really, so that nobody feels lonely over Christmas. And we'll be doing 1 hour every single day. And you may not be lonely at Christmas. You may have a big family and you just want to escape to a corner of your house. Or you may just enjoy that sort of thing. I thought it would be nice that we could all be together over Christmas, especially for people who are on their own. So, because I know it can be a miserable time of year, if you're on your own and you sort of think, is it worth making the effort and putting a tree up? Well, you don't have to go mad, but you could get a packet of mince pies and a small bottle of brandy or something like that. So that will be starting here on this channel tomorrow, and then we'll let you know in the live tomorrow whether the next one will be on Graham's channel or mine, but we might alternate it between my channel and Graham's channel. Now, just quickly on the Netflix thing, which I actually had to seek out something that Megan said, and I can see now why the story is so chopped and changed and confusing. It's so you've basically got to watch the whole thing all over again, which I'm not going to do. And it even took me about 20 minutes scanning through to find where she had said this. And also, I'm talking about the psychopathic narcissists that we've had in our lives for nearly 13 years now. They like to muddy the waters, change the timeline, kick it all up. And one of their favourite expressions, whenever somebody would pull them up on facts, they'd go, "You don't know the history." And that's the way they like to keep it, because if people actually look at a timeline of the order of actual events and actual facts, then the narcissist's story very quickly falls apart. So it is in the narcissist's interest to keep it muddled, mixed up. I'm not suggesting Megan's a narcissist, but that Netflix documentary is all over the place. It goes to here, to there, to there, to there, to there, to there, and it's, to me, very confusing. Now, I've been watching the story for a very long time, several years. But what she actually said, when they said we're going to have a summit at Sandringham, and I am not going to give her copyright, I've written down word for word, verbatim, what she said when she found out she was not invited. Right? She said, "Imagine a conversation, round table discussion, about the future of your life." She's talking about herself in the third person here. "When the stakes are this high, and you as a mom and a wife and the target in many regards aren't invited to have a seat at that table." Now, in that context, I take that to mean that she wasn't invited. The stakes were high for her future. Her me. I didn't hear her say anything like, which is what I think I would have said, I would have liked to have been there because it might affect mine, Graham, Faith and Ben's future, our family's future. I might have used a term like that. I wouldn't have said or talked about myself in the third person saying, the stakes are so high, it could affect my future, my life. I wasn't allowed a seat at the table. So that, to me, before I watched this documentary of her own making, I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. Now I've heard it from the horse's mouth, I can see the selfishness, the self-centeredness. It really has changed my opinion of her for the worse. But there'll be lots to talk about on the live. And also, I feel men can be abused. They can be in an abusive relationship. In fact, every day I go into Gibraltar at the border, there's actually a poster, I don't know if you've seen it, Graham, of a man in his sort of 70s, I think, and he's got a bit of a split lip, and it says, "Domestic abuse can affect men." And I've been seeing that poster now, nigh on 10 years. And So I don't buy the misogyny argument at all. I believe even millionaire males and millionaire women and people of all walks of life, whatever sex, whatever gender, whatever relationship they're in, can suffer from abuse. I don't believe that domestic abuse, mental abuse is restricted to women. And yes, the woman does get blamed a lot. I think Wallis Simpson was blamed horribly, and I don't think it was her fault. I thought she was a real lady. I feel there have been lots of instances in history when you get a couple who are murderers, like Myra Hindley, Ian Brady. Everybody went on about Myra far more than they always did about Ian. So I'm really into that. I don't like the idea of people always blaming the woman. But in this instance, the manipulator I see is Meghan. Now, I did mention before that I've had agoraphobia a couple of times. The first time I had it, it sort of wasn't precisely agoraphobia. I had a violent ex-boyfriend who camped outside my home and said, I'm going to kick the shit out of you if you set foot outside the house. The police wouldn't do anything about it, and so I didn't go out of the house. Eventually, I moved from Lewes to Hove, and that was the end of the problem, because he still lived in Lewes. The second time I had agoraphobia, I had someone in my life who told me that every time I set foot outside my flat in Hove, that people were staring at me because they were so horrified at how ugly I was. And at first, it sounds stupid. It really does. But until you live with someone who's doing this shit to you, you can't explain it. And I became to believe him because he chip. It just kept going on. Every time we were in a social, like at a dinner party or with friends or anything, we'd go home, he'd say, everybody hated you there. You said this and you did that. And I'd be like, did I? Shit, sorry. Did I? And where I lived was a very busy main road, Sackville Road, and there were quite often double-decker buses full of passengers, and he'd say, all those people are looking at you. Well, eventually, he left me, and I was alone in the flat, and I just, my life had been absolutely ruined by him, quite frankly, and I was just left in a mess. And I'll tell you how I got out of it. I bought a book by Paul McKenna, who is a very, very famous hypnotist. I highly recommend Paul's books to anybody who's really suffering any kind of mental illness, because he explained so many things to me. I could do a ton of videos on Paul McKenna, how wonderful I think he is. He really saved me. And he was the one who said to me, just change, we all have biorhythms in our lives, and you just keep doing the same thing, same routine. And he said there's a way to break it, and the way you break it is you do something out of character. So I went to the supermarket and I bought a lemon, just a lemon, nothing else, and I came home. I also slept in the bath, which sounds crazy, but it's amazing how it just changes your outlook. It sets you on a new biorhythm. And I learned self-hypnosis, and I really got into hypnosis, and I was really quite good at it. And it all stopped, and my whole life changed. I suddenly became confident. Before that, I was really not a very confident person. Now, I distinctly remember, and I know I did read this, because even Graham remembers me saying, I remember reading Harry saying that Meghan had arranged for him to have light and sound baths. And I said to Graham, what the fuck's a light and sound bath? To me, that sounds like hypnosis. Can be. Maybe not. Maybe it's a relaxation thing. Maybe it's something to do with Tibet and the Dalai Lama. I know they have the bells and the bong. But the light bath, sound mixed together, well, that's a good thing. I wouldn't deter anybody. Part of what Paul McKenna said is you can lay down in a dark room for self-hypnosis. But what if someone's using that technique? Now, Paul used to have a TV show where it's actually quite funny, it's kind of cruel as well. There are clips of it on YouTube, you can look him up, Paul McKenna, the Paul McKenna Show. And he would choose people from the audience, and he would get them to do the most ridiculous things. And he had complete control over them, and a lot of people thought it was fake. But apparently before the show, he would go through and he would test out the audience, and he had to find people who were susceptible to it. I would suggest that Harry is potentially susceptible, shall we say, vulnerable, damaged, might be another way of putting it. And that's where I stand. That's how I feel. That's my opinion. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying Meghan's all in the wrong because she's the woman. I'm saying I think Meghan is a manipulator from having observed her for 4 years, and now having heard her speak, noises coming from her mouth moving. I'm making that judgment. I'm making that call. How anyone else feels, that's up to them. And I'm sure you all have all different thoughts and opinions, and really look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 6 p.m. European time, 5 p.m. UK time. And if anybody would be willing to help moderate, I would really appreciate it. You can email me. I'm still working my way through my emails as well, by the way. It's because I'm trying to get through all the comments on the previous video. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope to see you tomorrow for the beginning of the Christmas festivities.